Brain cortex is cornerstone of human evolution. It includes more neurons than any other brain part and provides human being to be differentiated among other species. The brain cortex consists of two parts as left and right hemispheres, and they are connected to each other through a giant fiber bundle called corpus callosum. Although there exists some few distinctions in structure, they look symmetrical in appearance and they are almost identical. Hemispheric asymmetry is still one of the most popular and discussed topic in cognitive psychology and neuroscience. Commonly, left hemisphere is mainly responsible for linear sequential processes like language, and right hemisphere involves in processes like facial recognition and visuospatial function, which can be called as all-at-once processes. In many views, left hemisphere controls symbolic processing and rational thinking, whereas right hemisphere is predisposed to be responsible for artistic, intuitive and creative characteristics. Many theorists claim that there are some advantages and disadvantages of hemispheric asymmetry when we approach it from evolutionary perspective. One of them suggests that each part of the brain specializes in processing of particular sorts of stimuli instead of the assumption of the jack of all trades. Nadeau, 2010. Complementariness of two hemispheres provides the functioning of the brain to be able to decrease maladaptive transitions and interhemispheric delay, and prevents the error of duplicating message, thus the message is prevented to be processed twice. There are two crucial hypotheses which have been discussed when it comes to distinction in emotional processing. First hypothesis suggests a right hemisphere dominance over the left in terms of frame of perception and expression of emotions. The second hypothesis claims that the valence of the emotion is arbiter in processing emotions. Negative emotions are processed more dominantly in right hemisphere and left hemisphere is superior in processing positive emotions. Although there are remarkable irregularities in the literature, at least some empirical studies supported these hypotheses. Initial studies about brain asymmetry suggests that left hemisphere is associated with cognitive processes, whereas right hemisphere is dominant on emotion processing. Mills, 1912, found that damage to right hemisphere may cause deficits in emotional expressions. In another research conducted by Sakim, Gore, and Saucy in 1978, resulted that facial expressions are expressed better in the left side of face, which shows a dominance of right hemisphere in expressing emotions. Also, some other research has suggested that right hemisphere is like a storage for facial expressions, and once somebody has damage to that storage, he or she may lose his/her ability to recognize and express facial expressions. Bowers, Blonder, Feinberg, and Heilman, 1991, Stone, Nisenson, Eliasson, and Gazzaniga, 1996. Although there are substantial evidence suggesting a dominance of right hemisphere on emotions, many initial studies suggested a different pattern of brain asymmetry. Goldstein, 1939, showed that damage to the left hemisphere was more possibly to cause a catastrophic depressive reaction in psychiatric patients than damage to the right hemisphere. The other brain asymmetry model, which was called valence hypothesis, suggested by Davidson in 1995, states that the pattern of hemispheric dominance depends on the emotional valence of the stimulus. According to this model, left hemisphere takes role on positive emotions and right hemisphere takes role on negative emotions. Negative emotions, fear, anger, disgust and sadness. Positive emotions, happiness and surprise. Please don't forget to hit like button and subscribe to support the channel to see more content in the future.